Hello and welcome back to another voiceover video. I thought that maybe my Junutian taxi service video would probably be the only voiceover video I do for KSP1, but I realised that doesn't really make sense because I wanted to do the two big things that I haven't done in KSP1, and that is an Eve landing, like you can see in this video, and a Duel 5, which is something else that I'm planning on doing, but I haven't even really started on yet. But anyway, as you can see in the video, I'm launching the crew thing. This was originally supposed to launch on my really big rocket that I've showed off in a previous video. That was, it was a really short video, but anyway, it's in the Wanderer video as well. It's the one that launches the modules. I wanted to launch it on that, but then it was way too big, and it didn't have enough Delta V to get to Eve, so I just decided on not doing that. As you can see, I've undocked these two arms, and the idea is that it can rotate around. And here I can see me doing a little checking my transfer window. And a transfer window to Eve, if you didn't know, if you were to draw a line from Kerbin to the sun to Eve, the angle that that line should form should be about 50 degrees behind the Kerbin. As you may be able to spot, there is another craft coming with us, which I haven't shown, and that's the lander. But the problem is that I went all the way, and I landed and everything, and then I checked and I realised I didn't put an airlock on it like I meant to. Anyways, here we are circularising around Eve with the crew, and then after this, it's basically just going to show my failed attempt at landing. So here we are, it's coming down, and it's like, oh, this is going so well. And then I land, and I'm like, oh bugger, I could have sworn I put an airlock on it, and it's like, well, what do we do now? Well, I'll tell you what.
Again!
So of course here we are, launching the lander. I thought I'd speed it up quite a bit because, well, otherwise it'd be a really long video. But anyway, so this is like 10 times speed, so it goes by quite quickly. Last time I launched it, which is the one that I didn't show you, it took me quite a while to get the encounter, but this time it was quite quick as well, as you'll see here. But that was good because it meant that it didn't take as long, obviously. I also tried launching it again before, and then that kind of failed because I ended up running out of power. So I've actually had to launch this lander 3 times, I think. And I think you can even see the debris of the second lander in orbit of Eve when I go onto the Eve on the map screen. Anyways, I'm just going to cut to orbit because there's no point in looking at all the random rendezvous stuff. So here we are in Eve orbit, just circularising now. It was really a pain to rotate it around in time for the burn because it's that giant stage on the back that I kind of needed because otherwise I wouldn't have enough Delta V. But anyway, and then there's a second stage which you need to rotate the whole thing around, and it doesn't rotate that fast. I had a lot of problems with this lander, of it flipping over and exploding, which was not great. The aero brakes seem to work pretty well, but if I were to do it again, I'd probably use heat shields instead of aero brakes, like custom aero brakes essentially that are just made out of heat shields. You can see me making it. Yeah, you can see me making a quick save, and I end up actually having to use that because the whole thing explodes, like I said, because it flipped over. But this time it works, but you do see that one of the aero brakes does explode. Like I said, if I did this again, I'd probably use a heat shield instead of an aero brake. I just have it fold out, or even I don't even have to have it fold out because the fairing on the rocket that launched it is really large, so I could probably just have it in the open position the entire time. But anyway, so just, you know, coming down, I waited until 2,000 meters up to deploy the chutes because I really didn't want to wait that long for the chutes to deploy, and then I just jettisoned the heat shield, and then it's pretty smooth sailing from there, but you know, quite boring as well. Okay, so here we are just touching down. Oh, and then there we go, and then I just auto-struck the legs because I wanted them to make sure they wouldn't break off, and then finally I extend the airlock, which I forgot on the first ones. Now we just have to land the crew. This isn't the first time I've done this, as seems to be a thing with this video, where it's like I try something and I fail immediately, it just doesn't really work out. But yeah, essentially I tried to land it from the orbit that I was in originally, which was about 200 kilometers, which was way too high, and it just blew up. So I lowered the orbit with the mothership, and then, you know, came in from that lower orbit. I made this quick save, but I never ended up actually using it because, you know, I'd learned from my mistakes. I just had to rotate the thing around so it wouldn't blow up, essentially. It was very stressful though, because I kept on seeing the heat indicators getting really, really close to blowing up. And the G limit as well, you know, they almost pass out. And it was a bit stressful because of that. But I ended up managing it. I made another quick save, which I didn't end up using. You know, just coming in, deploy the parachutes at 2,000 meters because, again, I don't want to like wait for ages. Deploy the fairing, which ends up doing this weird spinning thing, as you can probably see. I've got this little rover, so I can rove over to the other lander, the one that's going to take us up into orbit. And then here we go, just landing. One of the fairing bits like lands on the leg, and you'll see this, and it just sends me flying, but luckily it lands properly, otherwise I probably would have had to use that other quick save. But look, see, and it launches it. So now we just got to deploy the rover, which was really annoying because every time I'd deploy it, one of the wheels would just pop and I'd have to restart. I ended up having to do this weird maneuver thing where I like just retract one of the landing legs and like flop it over and then rotate the rover around, deploy the wheels. It was very difficult, but I did end up getting it to work. I'm not going to show you the whole roving thing because that would be way too long. So, here is the rover arriving. This took me so long to get here, might I add. It was ridiculous. But anyway, here comes the exciting bit, which is I bet the bit that you've all been sticking around for, the bit you've all been waiting for, the launch. But first I have to like fall off my rover. Yeah, I had a bit of a issue with the rover where when I dismounted it, you'll see here, falls over and it knocks it over and lands on the other Kerbal, which is kind of funny. But I guess since, you know, they're kind of done with the rover anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much if it's all like toppled over. In fact, I bet, I mean, obviously this isn't realistic, so the exhaust isn't going to push anything, but if it did, it would have just got knocked over anyway, so it's not too big of a deal. Just transferring the crew into the rocket now. I had to have that little airlock because I tried it with ladders, but it just did not work. So I thought, oh, the next best thing is to just have an airlock. Okay, so just attaching the bit on the top now. This was just, I kept it there because the solar panels were on it and I didn't want it to run out of power. So yeah, just attaching that. And then is the bit you've all been waiting for. It's pretty loud. The lander, well, I should say takeoffer, I guess, was the hardest part, as is usually with most EVE missions. But I had like 3 other designs for landers that just completely failed. It took me so long to get this to work. But I'm glad I finally did, because now I'm really proud, you know, it's like something I can look back on and be like, I did that, you know? But anyway, just, you know, getting back into orbit now, pretty self-explanatory. And then we have to return the crew. And you might have noticed this little command pod thing at the bottom of the entire craft, and that is a Finch, like the one in my video. But this one's modified and it's supposed to be like a Mooner one, but I've used it for this one because I thought it just worked the best, you know? Anyway, the point is that this Finch is here to dock to the crew capsule of the rocket and basically bring the crew back. And I made this this capsule, if you didn't know, using fairings, which is why it looks like custom, because it is. And anyway, just gonna return back to the mothership and be on our merry way. So here we are, going on our merry way, like I said. Again, this is one of those things where I did it once, I failed, I had to do it again. So yeah, I had a whole return thing planned out to Kerbin, and then it was like, that didn't work. I never got the encounter with Kerbin, and I'd left Eve's SOI, so it was I kind of screwed myself over. And then I realised I hadn't made a quick save until before the takeoff of Eve's surface, which is not great. So I had to restart from there, which was really, really annoying. But you know, I did it, and I had to speed this footage up really fast because otherwise it would have been way too long. But yeah, you can see leaving Eve now. Really kind of nice shot, I think, although I don't know if you see much of it. And then just doing a mid-course correction. I'm really sorry if the footage is going too fast. I may have sped it up a little bit too fast, but I felt like it would have been really boring otherwise. But anyway, just getting back, I decided to split it up into 2 burns, the capture, just because I thought it would, I might run out of time almost, but well, it wouldn't have, I would have been fine if I'd just done it in 1, but I guess I wanted to do it in 2 anyways. There was no reason to, because I honestly probably could have just taken the capsule and just re-entered straight from interplanetary, but you know, I just thought I wouldn't. So you know, here we are, just should be detaching the command module, and then you know, deorbiting. I kind of aimed it towards the KSC, but not entirely. I mean, it doesn't matter because I was going to land on the water anyway. But I just thought that it would, you know, be better to land near the KSC. I wanted to get a cool shot of the bottom bit exploding, but I couldn't. I kind of gave up, I guess. And there was a bit where I pressed backspace, which is the abort key, which fires the you can see the solid rocket motors, the Separatrons, fires those to kind of get it away from the rocket if it explodes. But I pressed that whilst we were descending, which kind of flipped it over. And I'm just, instead of making you sit through the entire descent, I'm just going to cut to it, and then you can be like, oh, good job, well done, and clap and all that, and that should be now. So yeah, back at Kerbin. I'm pretty proud of that. I thought I did a pretty good job. You can comment below if you want to, and maybe subscribe, leave a like. You know, it's all up to you really. All right, see ya.